So good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? So I would like first to start by thanking the Serialization team that presented to us a very good presentation about the future of the digital health. Can't hear me? Madre is, yeah, this is working now. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. نزله هيك لا هيك ما عم يسمع. I think this is better. Okay, can you hear me now, Amanie? Okay. So good morning again, everyone, and it's very good to be back to stage and to have like face-to-face presentations with familiar faces. This morning, I will be moderating the e-labeling session as well as speaking in the session along with my colleagues Nawel Boukhatem from Takeda and Michael Ritter. I will start by providing you with a brief introduction on the e-labeling, followed by my colleague Michael that will be speaking about the implementation of e-labeling from a global perspective, followed by Nawel speaking about the e-labeling at Takeda, Japan. And then we will be fortunate to have a panel discussion with Dr. Ahmed, Hussein, Babiker from Qatar MOH, Dr. Hala Ghazalah from Pfizer, Michael also from Takeda will be back with us on the stage as a panelist. So can I have the slides, please? Slides, please. So in my next 10 minutes, I will be speaking about this. Okay, perfect. So I will be speaking about how we can improve the accessibility of our product information via the e-labeling or the electronic leaflet to ensure equity globally. So in the next 10 minutes, I will be focusing on the customer experience. What's the customer experience? The role and the benefits of the e-labeling and what could be possible with the e-labeling. A proposed roadmap that is towards the future state and sourced from the IFMA position paper, the current landscape of the e-labeling guidances, and some closing remarks. So as we can see, and as we have heard from the previous presentation related to serialization, there is a shift in thinking. We are moving to the digital world and to the digital era. And for that, as we can see currently, the health authority and the industry are still focused on the content of the label and on the maintenance of the product information for post-approval and the implementation of those changes on the actual pack. But what we need to do is to think beyond the manufacturing. We need to link the work that we do from a regulatory perspective to the information that will reach at the end the patient's hands and the HCP's hands, which means we need to improve this customer experience. So what is the customer experience? When we speak about customer experience, it's the understanding, accessibility, and adherence. Currently, the patients have access to their labels, but they don't have the access to the most updated information or product information. And providing it or providing the label in a paper format is very easy for them to access, but it's not the ultimate or the updated information that they get from an on-time or up-to-date printing at the site. They do understand the version, but relying on one version of the label to cover every patient despite the different medical histories and health literacy gives a false sense of security. And finally, the adherence. Poor adherence is a major safety issue, placing a large burden on the health system and the healthcare system. So if we address the accessibility, the understanding, and the adherence, it empowers the patients to take care of their own health. So it will improve the health outcomes. And there has been a study that was done on some patient perspective, and patients were asked about the use of internet to get their information, the product information related to their illness or to their family member illness, and 95% or 95.65% of the patients are using the internet. And when they were asked about what do you use as your first go-to source for information on your medication or a family member's medication, less than half of the patients are using the information leaflet, and more than 65% are using the internet for that, which means the patients are looking for an easy access to the information or to their product information. So what's the role of this product information or the labels? We all know what's the product information or the role of the product information. But if we put it in a regulatory dossier, the dossier that we submit to the regulators, it starts with a lot of phases that do not go to the external stakeholders, which are the patients and the HCP. The only thing that the patients and the HCPs will see is the labeling. So this information is a critical risk minimization measure to communicate the benefit, risk, and usage instructions to the patients and to the HCPs. And the label can be in different forms, in electronic forms or paper forms, and it covers different information, patient information and HCP information. So the e-labeling is the electronic version of the label. But this e-labeling is not only a PDF format, it is, as per the EU definition, an authorized product information that follows the electronic EU standards of the ePI, that is searchable, that provides good, easy information to the patients. But the ultimate goal is to reach the future structured format that will allow the patients to reach the information easily. So what are the benefits of the e-labeling? As you can see here on the slides, there's a lot of overlap between the benefits of the e-label from a regulator perspective, HCP patients perspective, and industry perspective. If we name few of them, it's a faster sharing of new information, reducing the lead time to launch new products, advancing the digital health, reducing waste and environment footprint. And we know that the e-labeling, as all the projects, and as we have heard also in the serialization presentation before, that there are challenges. And we do acknowledge that the e-labeling will definitely have challenges, and there are some concerns whenever there's a low ability of digital skills, for example, for elderly people, and whenever there's a lack of internet access, whenever in countries with no internet connections. And for that, we know that it will not be a shift, an immediate shift, but it will be a stepwise approach. And this stepwise approach will only start with having a trusted electronic version of the label. And this trusted electronic version will allow immediate access to the current labeling on one single trusted site that will be later on linked to a machine-readable code on the package, on the product pack, and that will improve the accessibility to the physical pack. And then we have the step 3 or 4, which is the intermediate flexibility or total removal of paper copies. And for those two steps, the 3 and 4, there is flexibility. It doesn't have to be followed one as a step-by-step approach, but it can be either or we can not move the printed information because it depends as well on the market and the environment in the region. Some markets cannot remove the paper leaflet, and some products cannot go paperless. So for those 2 steps, what we are proposing is to go or to start with some pilots of the e-labeling versus the paper copies, and for certain types of products. And by removing the printed copies or the paper copies, it will help in the immediate implementation of changes. Like, for example, in Norway, there has been a reduction of the timeline, the grace period for implementation, an extension of the grace period of implementation from 6 months to 12 months because the patients have already access to their leaflet through their code. So it will also have first, it will allow in the elimination of paper waste, and it will allow to reduce the drug shortages. And finally, which is the ultimate goal, the structured format. And this structured format, the XML format or FIRE content, as some of the industry know it. So this structured format enables the search and interoperability with the other systems. So it will allow the patient through the label to search for the sections that they are interested to read. It will also allow the addition of videos or content that support and improve the health literacy. Also, it will reduce the resources and the risk of errors, and it will advance the digital health. So a lot of markets around the world have already started implementing the e-labeling. And if we look at the competent authorities, most of them have currently access or have national repositories where they can have their own approved labels on. And if we focus on the Middle East markets, we can see that Saudi have already their own national repository, Jordan as well, and Egypt recently issued a circular about the adoption of ePI, and it is voluntarily to have the companies add their approved label on the website. From the national repositories, we said the next step would be the XML format or the future of label, the format that is searchable, readable, where we can add some videos. And we can see that US, Canada, and Japan have already moved to that step. And some markets have already moved to the elimination of paper copies, and it depends on the product nature and based on the approval from the health authorities. So we can see that the markets are moving this step towards the e-labeling, and the first step is always to have the national trusted repository or trusted source of information. So as we can see, the technology is advancing to allow us to support the patient information needs, and it is through different or a lot of different variety of sources, like having MP3 videos, having the information available on a multi-channel distribution platforms, having it on mobile apps, on the ministries or the agency's website through the HL7 or the FHIR content, or having some videos showing patient instructions, like in some applications in Denmark. So by that, I would like to conclude with some closing remarks that if we look back in 10 years, the concept of a paper label in a pack will feel prehistoric. And the future is digital, as we have heard in the previous also presentation related to serialization. It's more patient-centric. It's an integrated experience where the patient can take accountability of their own health, but the path to fulfill it, for sure, will not be easy and sometimes will take unexpected turns, but we know that the impact on the patients will be dramatic. Thank you. I would like now to invite Nawel and Michael. Nawel Boukhatem, she's the head of regulatory for Middle East region in Takeda, and the scientific office manager, and Michael, head of serialization and digital enabling system, global engineering at Takeda Pharmaceuticals.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. So my name is Michael Ritter. I'm from Takeda, global engineering. As Amanie already introduced myself, so it's an honor and a pleasure to speak to this audience. Just to make it very clear, I'm a technician, I'm an engineer, I'm not at all a regulatory person, so please forgive me if I'm talking too much technical. Okay, let's start quickly from perspective. As Amanie already mentioned, the healthcare industry is moving more and more towards digitalization. And what we see here basically is that just some trends, not to repeat what you already said, Amanie. So the patient is taking over more and more in their own hands, their own health data. So they are looking at the internet, educate themselves, what is their disease, what is the treatment, what is their side effects, and so on. So the patients are getting more and more used to use their own mobile data and to use more and more their own mobile devices. And not only for track and trace, but also then more and more also for leaflets, right? So that's what I'm trying to draw the bridge here. What we also see, our supply chain gets more and more integrated. So we see that we have the supply chain partners work together, exchange their data, trust each other, also supported by the new blockchain technology. And we are breaking up the data silos. First of all, to overcome shortages and see more faster and quicker where drug shortages happen in the supply chain. And the regulators are more and more interested, also especially in the EU, and I'm sure also in other countries. The healthcare authorities want to use more and more the digitalization and the environment to process data faster, to have approval of drugs faster, to review and approve submissions of drug makers quicker and faster, and to digitize everything. When I've seen a submission of Takeda to the health authorities in Europe, it's a paper of that size and that height, and you can do it electronically. It will be much faster, easier, and quicker. And that's in the benefit of our patients, of course. So, and also what's very important also for us as Takeda is to put sustainability and net zero targets, carbon dioxide reduction, carbon dioxide footprint on the company top agenda. And why printing a leaflet which almost nobody reads or not very often, and can also be made available electronically. That will save a lot of paper and also protect our environment tremendously. What it means, I don't go through these, the benefits of having e-leaflets are already well explained by Amanie, so I don't want to go through this again. What I wanted to focus on is basically when we look at the landscape worldwide, leaflets are gaining more and more momentum. So the conversion of away from paper leaflets to electronic leaflets is growing more and more. You see this, I don't go through all countries here right now, it's just the indication. Right now in Takeda, we are focusing pretty much on piloting in Singapore. As a Japanese company, of course, Nawel will mention that again. We have a great initiative going for complete replacement of all paper leaflets or patient leaflets on our packs by August 2023. So that is a great, huge initiative, which is the first initiative, basically, what I know is which is targeting at the complete elimination of all paper versions of our packs in Japan. And so what is mentioned below is that more and more countries are going through digitalization of their paper leaflets and replace the paper leaflets with the electronic versions of e-leaflets. And we as a company want to avoid, also as a global company want to avoid that we have to have a Singapore solution, that we have a European solution, that we have a US solution, a Canada solution, a Brazil solution. We are pretty much interested to have one common approach to target all markets on the world. And that's why we as an industry came up with an industry solution. And we are looking for partners and promoting partners and want to collaborate with the health authorities to go towards that trend and accelerate this trend in the benefits of our patients. When we look at the possible solutions in the industry consortium called PharmaLedger, I'll come to this one in a minute. It's basically, as a company, you have three possibilities to respond to these market trends across the whole world. Number one, you can do a market-by-market solution. You can create apps for each single market. You can create a Singapore app, you can create a Japanese app, you can create a European app, you can create a UAE app. And that would end up on the patient's phone, like this picture is indicated on the left-hand side. You have a Pfizer app for Singapore, you have a Takeda app for Singapore, you have a Takeda app for Japan, whatever. That's definitely not in the wish or the interest of the patient. You can also go for company standardized options. So working as a Takeda, you can look for standardization within the company. Then you end up with an app for Singapore, you end up with an app for Takeda, for Pfizer, for Novartis. So still not the best ideal solution for the patient. The patient wants to have basically on the right-hand side what I think is what the patient wants, to be honest. The patient wants to have one app basically where he can access all leaflets worldwide, independent on the market and independent on the company, right? It doesn't matter if it's Pfizer or it's Takeda, or he wants to have one app, which enables him to display the leaflet on his phone or mobile device in one matter. So how could this look like? So when we compare those three options together, then you can see that there are pros and cons in terms of technical solutions. On the left-hand side, for me, it's the most important thing, how does the patient see those three options out of his opinion, right? At the moment, we see a trend for adding QR codes to our packs on top to the data matrix. So in many, many countries worldwide, you have already track and trace installed. So we have already a 2D data matrix supported by GS1, of course, as a standard on each pack. What we see as a trend is adding QR codes to this data matrix, right? And I personally think, from a technician point of view, right, this is not in the benefit of the patient. We don't want to confuse the patient by adding more and more codes on our packs. When you look at the packs today, I'm already confused, and if I see 2 codes on it, I would definitely be confused which one to scan to get my leaflet, right? If I have only one, and there's no discussion, I have only to scan one, right? What we see also on the market is that there are 2 approaches. Some of the countries just take the PDF and convert it to a file and put it up on a web page. And then you have on the phone simply the PDF, right? I don't know if you ever tried to read a PDF on a mobile phone, but I really gave up because you cannot read this kind of document if it's not paper on a mobile device. It's very tough and very, very, very tough to read, especially when you have a small iPhone like I have. So you definitely need a different way of displaying the PDF in a different way. And what already Amanie said, it's basically the way to go. It's a XML-based or internet-based version. And that's indicated on the very right-hand side of what we propose as a PharmaLedger industry consortium. And so having one code on the pack physically is for me very important to access the e-leaflet. And also QR codes, in my point of view, I know there are it's a big, big trend on the industry to add QR codes everywhere, but this QR code can take you everywhere. So it can take you to fake internet page. It can even steal your data. So when you oversticker a QR code anywhere with a fake QR code, then you can guide you to any URL, which is even then revealing your private data, bank account data, so your mobile phone, your private data, your name, whatever you want to. And I don't think that's in the interest of the patient. So data security is getting very, very important. That's why we say it's 2D in combination of blockchain provides the must-have security nowadays, because attacking web pages, having cyber attacks gets unfortunately more and more popular and more a risk to our health industry. So QR code for me is not a standard to go, it's simply 2D in combination with blockchain. So, and also a QR code is a one-way communication. So you scan your pack, you get a leaflet, and that's it, you read it, and that's it. We as a PharmaLedger believe that that's not enough. Patients want to interact with the healthcare providers, want to get more data, not just only the leaflet, wants to get videos about it, wants to get additional information about it, wants to check if the badge I hold in hand or the pack I hold in hand is expired, whether there's a counterfeit or not, whether it's a genuine product or not, whether it's an authentic serial number or not, when we talk about serialization. So the patient wants to get simply more than just a leaflet. He expects more. So that's why we say it's not a one-way communication, displaying the leaflet only. It's also expected to have a two-way communication with additional use cases or features or functionality, not just only the leaflet. Good, so again, on the right-hand side, we also think QR code are critical because you maintain a URL, and if the URL is changing, you need to change all artworks you have printed out in the market. So it's not only getting, it's not convenient enough to have it, so it's already a risk and a huge effort to maintain and keep the URL up to date. And also from a compliance risk, if you have so many different URLs to maintain worldwide, it's very tough for companies or for Takeda to keep all these URLs and web pages of the health authorities completely updated. Whereas with the PharmaLedger blockchain solution, you don't have to maintain authorities' web page. You keep it simply in the blockchain of the companies who are joining the blockchain consortium. So also from a healthcare regulatory perspective, it's much easier to make sure that the patients always sees the right leaflet on their phone when scanning a 2D data matrix. Good. So what are the challenges? The challenges is, as I mentioned already, it's not sufficient to convert just a PDF and put it on the web page. It's easy, but it's not sufficient. It's by far also not user-friendly. As I mentioned already, if you want to display a leaflet on the phone and you see only PDF, you will not read it. You will not be able to find anything on the phone like this. And especially when it's multi-language. So the beautiness of having it converted to an XML version, which is the standard for the internet, it's much easier to scroll through. And in Europe, and I'm not sure how this is here in UAE, is you have the content of leaflets is always structured. So you have certain therapeutic areas, you have the name of the medicinal products, you have certain sections on the leaflet. And by using the HL7 FHIR standard, which is also already mentioned by Amanie, you're converting those product data, those PDF or Word data, into an XML version, right? And then you can see it like on the right-hand side on the PharmaLedger app, you will see this in sections. So whatever you're interested in, you just click on it and then it's expanding the section. So it gets much more readable and better readable than on a PDF, right? So you have the challenge to convert a Word document or PDF, that's what we are currently struggling in Takeda with, to convert a PDF or Word document into an XML version. And that sounds simple, but it's really not that easy to make it usable, readable, and do it in an automated way, because you have graphics sometimes in there, tables, small charts, which you need to convert in an XML version. And that's to make this in an automated manner. It's not a lot of solutions are available on the market, but I'm pretty sure this will change in the future. Good. So the next challenge is digital key, because that's close to my heart. I'm taking care for track and trace as well. And also, of course, I have a strong interest to combine track and trace, use it not only for track and trace and for compliance reasons only, but also use the data matrix for e-leaflets, right? Why is that? Because we print this data matrix with a huge effort. On our packs, we ensure data content, data quality, data integrity on the packaging lines, on our technical equipment within our network. So it makes absolutely sense to use this data quality and this investment we have invested in this technology, not only for track and trace, but also for displaying a leaflet on the mobile phone. Why not? Adding and printing a separate code on a pack, on a secondary pack or on the outer pack, is just an additional effort, which ensures more additional effort and is not creating, in my opinion, any additional value. So why not using the data matrix as a digital key as well for e-leaflet purposes? And you see on the map, I'm definitely sure it's not complete. It's a growing standard in the world, and there's not many areas left on the world which do not have any track and trace regulations in place already. And it will get more and more crowded, I'm pretty sure. And many codes are available on the market. As I mentioned already, and it's not a secret anymore, I don't like QR codes because of the risk of faking medicines. It can guide you to any URL on the planet which steals your data. So it's not controlled. So for my preference is on the right-hand side, and personal preference is the GS1 data matrix. And with additional data in there, like batch and expiry date, serial number, and GTIN, we have all data we need to display the right leaflet to the user or to the patient on the phone. So this is, but also, of course, in Japan, we use the composite code, where Nawel will mention it already in the next presentation. Also with scanning the data bar or the composite code, it's possible to display a leaflet also in the PharmaLedger industry consortium. So why now PharmaLedger? So I explained a lot of reasons why we should go for PharmaLedger, and I want to make it an advertisement for this industry consortium. As you can see, we have a lot of data silos. We have a lot of risk of fake medicines, right? We see a lot of cyber attacks growing across the whole world more and more. And we see also a very lack of data confidence, a lack of trusting each partner in the supply chain to exchange data, to detect, for example, drug shortages much earlier and much faster and quicker. So that's why we as an industry, and you see the partners here came up together with this industry consortium, putting ourselves together and 29 partners of big pharma companies and also official authorities to build up an industry consortium to come up with one solution to take care of various use cases. And one use case we are trying to address is e-leaflet as one of those, right? And we want to build up basically to move and prepare the industry to move towards an industry-based digital healthcare system, scalable, based on blockchain technology by putting all these partners together in one blockchain consortium. And it's financed by the European Union with $22 million, euros, almost the same nowadays. And it was running for 3 years from January 2020 to now December 22. End of this year, this will end up. And then we will set up the PharmaLedger as an operational industry consortium starting as of next year. And Takeda has joined the industry consortium June last year, and now we are part of these members. As I mentioned already, PharmaLedger is not only taking care of e-leaflet, we're also taking care of other use cases, and these are the other use cases. Don't worry, I will not go through all the use cases. This will take forever. So I put a green box around the use cases which are currently most important. As I mentioned already, e-leaflet, of course, and by scanning the data matrix, we also want to give the patient the additional functionality like protecting against anti-counterfeiting. So we are checking the fingerprint, a digital fingerprint of a data matrix as well. And we want to also enable, by using and scanning the data matrix together with our supply chain partners and distributors, to get an end-to-end transparency in the supply chain on potential drug shortages in our distribution. So these are the use cases, and also on the clinical. I'm not familiar with the clinical, so I only mentioned it here. On the clinical, we also want to add, we're taking care of additional use cases. Right? So in Takeda, we are taking care in the following sequence. First of all, we want to build up, and in the pharma industry consortium, I'm building up the ePI, electronic patient information leaflet, and also building up right now the blockchain infrastructure to enable e-leaflet scanning across the whole world. We then look at anti-counterfeiting. So by scanning a data matrix, we want to check also in parallel if this is a genuine barcode or not by using electronic fingerprint methods. And then we take care about extending the scanning to our supply chain partners, distribution partners, to ensure end-to-end visibility via scanning those. And then we are onboarding other use cases. But these other use cases, they will develop and mature. On behalf of the PharmaLedger Industry Consortium, I'm also very open to partner and pilot, also for the GCC countries. So I'm very open to take any wishes or interest from anyone back to the PharmaLedger Industry Consortium, to my partners, and start any discussion about potential piloting in those regions. So now, having that said, I want to close my presentation. I'm at the end. And I want to say, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, Shukran, right? I hope that's correct. And thank you very much. I want to hand over to Nawel, my colleague.
So in continuity to my colleague, so today I'm going to present you on behalf of our colleague Takeda Japan, our best practice in e-labeling. Before I start, I want to start with some facts. Who would have thought that the pandemic would have helped us to foster the digitalization in partner in pharma industry? Who would have thought that going paperless discussion would have been discussed? Yeah, here we are today. And today I'm going to give you a summary of Japan, one of the first in the e-labeling adoption for the industry. So back in August 2021, Japan Health Authority's PMDA has released a circular reinforcing the need of having an e-labeling in replacing the paper printed labels with an electronic label that is directly uploaded from the website of Japan Health Authority's PMDA. They have given 2 years a grace period for the full implementation, so till August 2023. It's a government, but also Takeda, a global initiative. But at the end of the day, this initiative is supporting our patient and our healthcare professionals, because this is an easier, friendly user solution for our patient, for our healthcare professional, and environment user solution. So basically, it's replacing the paper package insert into an electronic product information directly connected through the website of Japan Health Authorities. So let me introduce you how this e-labeling system works. You can see this is the ongoing and how the Japan Health Authorities has done. So actually from at the industry and at the manufacturer point of view, so the product we will have the responsibility to print out a 2DMC code, which is like a data matrix code that will have, the information and link to a GS1 code that is linked directly to the updated product information that can be read directly from the website of the Japan Health Authorities. With that, the healthcare professional will scan this code on the outer pack of the product, where they will read directly this e-labels, which will directly from the website of the health authorities. And this e-label and electronic product information are on a friendly user format, as my colleague said. So it's an XML, HTML format and not PDF. So it's really a friendly user and an easy, quick access to the product information for our healthcare professional. And implementation of this e-label, I want to highlight from Japan Health Authorities, has been done on the hospital and prescribed medicine only, and not on the for the over-counter product. So it's intended for the healthcare professional for their easy access. Also, highlighting, that of course in Japan and many countries, and specifically Japan, the COVID situation was an eye-opener to accelerate and to implement it faster. Let me introduce you how the e-labeling system works. So this is how it works. So if we go to this slide. So actually, if I zoom into this product, the outer pack, you can see here. So a healthcare professional, so in Japan, they will scan this data matrix, 2DMC code. It will give him 2 options. So this is from his mobile or any smart device, either to view the PI or view other documents. So the healthcare professional will be able to click on view the PI, and it will direct him directly to this electronic label that are downloaded, linked to the website of Japan Health Authorities. And the document will open in HTML and not PDF. So it's really friendly user and supportive and for the healthcare professional. So you can see this is an extract of the labels and how it looks like from the health authorities. So let me tell you here our progress that we made today at our company at the Takeda Japan. So currently, and following this new circular, of course. So following this new circular, so currently, we have completed the registration of all the GS1 codes for all our products that are registered, and we continue, of course, to register any for a newly product, a new GS1 code. In terms of the implementation of this e-labeling, this is still in progress, and we are aiming to replace all the paper product information with the e-labeling that are enclosed in the outer pack before end of the implementation date, like before end of August 2023. Last but not least, as highlighted by my colleague Michael, that, we are also piloting this e-labeling in many of European countries. So in Spain, in Belgium as a pilot, but also we are driving and part of the pharma industry ongoing discussion to have more this e-labeling initiative at the APAC region, some countries like, to replicate what Japan are doing currently. Yeah, what an opportunity we have here. So for us to pilot, this digital solution for our patient, for our healthcare professionals, and for our GCC countries, because we know that, GCC, we lead the innovation, and we always bring this innovative product. And why not bringing an innovative and a faster solution for our healthcare professionals? So with that, this is my last slide. I want to thank you, everyone, and I'll hand over to Amanie and to our esteemed panelists. Thank you.
So thank you, Nawel. And now I would like to invite our panelists to the stage, Dr. Ahmed Babiker. Dr. Ahmed has more than 20 years of experience in different fields of pharmacy practices, including hospital pharmacy, community pharmacy, clinical pharmacy, drug information, patient safety, quality, and risk management. He has presented many papers in international scientific conferences and published an original research article in reputable journals. Dr. Ahmed is currently the head of registration and pricing section, pharmacy and drug control department at the Ministry of Health in Qatar. Dr. Ahmed, please welcome to the stage. Also, I would like to invite our second panelist, Dr. Hala Abu Ghazalah. Hala is currently the head of regulatory affairs, Africa, Middle East at Pfizer. She has more than 25 years of experience in regulatory affairs, external affairs, marketing, supporting various healthcare categories. She is a pharmacist by education, licensed in both UAE and Canada. Hala, please welcome to the stage. So I will start with the first question for Dr. Ahmed. And as we have heard from Nawel, Michael, and myself about the ePI, that it has a lot of positive impact on the patients, and it will bring the product information faster to the patient's hands. So can you please tell us if you have currently a roadmap for the implementation of the ePI in Qatar?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Amanie, and thank you very much for the organizers and for the speakers, for the distinctive speakers about me and what's being discussed related to the e-labeling and ePI. Actually, this is a very good and hot topic nowadays because we are at the era of digitalization. And yeah, during the COVID, it is a hard time for us, for everybody around the globe. But we learn from the experience of COVID time. And during COVID time, I think most of the country shifted to digitalization. And we are part of the world and part of those countries which is being which we shifted to digitalization and which help us a lot. And actually, what is being done during COVID, which we learn from, it is a kind of a roadmap for shifting different type of digitalization. And for sure, there is a preparation for that. And especially for COVID products, some vaccines and other COVID treatment, they are implementing kind of e-labeling, and which is being accepted for EUA during that time, and we are preparing for that in order to having it for the other products in different steps to be implemented as phase-wise.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. This is great to hear. And definitely COVID had some bad the situation, and everybody felt it in a bad way, but it had a lot of positive impacts on maybe the regulatory side from a convergence perspective and from advancement in the digital health. So if we can speak also about the GCC in general, we know that there has been a circular issued by the GCC for the ePI implementation. So what do you think would be, in your opinion, the challenges that we might face in the GCC region for the implementation of the ePI?
Yeah, as you can see from the presentation which you presented today, there is some countries from the GCC, they are already started. And in the MENA region also, they have started implementing the e-labeling. And also some countries around the globe, maybe around 15 or more, as I can see from your presentation, which is very good and going for good progress around for the humanity. And I think in order to fulfill or implement this kind of new digitalization of having information to be available for patients and being assessed by healthcare authorities in the country and being also available and easy access for healthcare professionals. It's a very important point for that is to having in harmonization, because as I can hear or as I hear from Mr. Michael in his presentation, also he mentioned that it's going to be confused or is confusing the regulators and namely patients in order to have like different kind of codes. Maybe more than one type of code. It's going to confuse the patients or the users or at least co-patients. And even the healthcare professionals also sometimes they need to have something unified codes in order to help them to, to be easy for them to be access that. And once like some countries or some companies might have like different kind of codes and they need to take like this kind of codes to get the information. The other type of codes might give you other information. This kind need some kind of harmonization and aligning between each other in order to help all in having same information and knowledge and having same kind of setting. This is one of the challenges. Once being overcome or being solved, it will help a lot. And at the same time also, I think not everybody have a smartphone or a device which you can read this kind of codes. This also might be gradually, we need to have like mix, having codes in addition to the printed label and to implement it in a phase-wise in order to help them by time with education and awareness for all pillars, manufacturers, healthcare professionals, health regulatories, and the patients themselves and co-patient and generally population.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I think definitely alignment is a key, and understanding and the education of the patients and the HCP on the use of these new digital technologies is important. So let me ask you a blunt question. Would Qatar MOH be open to start accepting ePI pilots?
Yeah, I think it is a part of the world for sure. This is what is being, for the as a patient-centered care. What's anything going to help the patient for sure. Nobody will delay in helping the patient. Generally, all of us here in this room, we are for the patients. At the end of the day, the patient, the center care person or body is a patient. For this is, I think it is, sure. Anything going to help the patient for understanding, adhering to his medication, helping to understand whatever to be done or need, this is for sure, it is something supported.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you.
So Hala, after we have heard from Dr. Ahmed about the government and the roadmap and the challenges that the government might be facing in the implementation of ePI, how could the industry, or what is the industry doing to support the regulators and the government in implementing the ePI roadmap?
Thank you, Amanie, and good morning, everyone. Definitely, like it has been mentioned, industry can partner with the health authorities in implementing several pilots. for different products and using different platforms. And the importance of the pilot is there's an opportunity to test the end-to-end use of the electronic product information, including getting some feedback from healthcare professionals and patients. And we had the opportunity to pilot this during the pandemic for products for prevention and treatment.
So Hala, can you tell us please about the experience of Pfizer during the pandemic with the implementation of the ePI on the COVID treatment and vaccines?
Definitely. During the pandemic, Pfizer leveraged different innovative approaches, not only to bring products for prevention and treatment of COVID-19 quickly to the patients, but also linking product information using QR code. And this can be, of course, built on and leveraged for other products in different disease areas. Additionally, future pilots can include additional tools like using multiple languages, using certain tools for the visually impaired with voiceover, the option of increasing the font also for the visually impaired. So, I mean, there are so many things to be added to future pilots, something that cannot be, obtained with the paper leaflet, in addition to bringing, product information closer to patients and healthcare professionals.
Great, thank you, Hala. So we can go back to the first slide of the shift in thinking and speak about the customer experience, which is improving the adherence, the understanding, and accessibility to this electronic leaflet. So Michael, can you please, or Nawel, if you can please tell us about what were the readiness that Japan had before they moved paperless? So was there like any type of readiness that they needed to work on from an industry perspective, regulatory authority perspective, in order to move to the step of being totally paperless in terms of e-labeling?
Sorry. I don't know.
It's working.
Yeah. How can I start? So, Japan is, as a nation per se, right? As a country per se, they're very technically beloved, right? So they love technology. So for there, it was not a big deal to change over to electronic versions of leaflets. So it was not a big political discussion over there. They just did it. And there was great support also from a culture perspective, from a patient perspective, from a healthcare professional perspective, to go immediately for a digital solution. So they're very open-minded and very supportive to go towards that direction. There was not much discussion, right? So, of course, I'm aware that in other countries it takes more discussions because where the penetration of mobile devices may be not so high, where there is, let's say, more resistance or reluctance to change over to go away completely from paper. So that is country by country, also culture by cultural discussion. So in Japan, it was no discussion at all. So I was very surprised to see this and very impressed by the speed Japan has taken over this regulation. Yeah.
This is great to hear and encouraging for the rest of the regulatory authorities around the world to follow this same approach. Maybe not paperless, but a hybrid model would be a great improvement, I mean, in terms of accessibility to the patient information leaflet. So based on what you have showed us for the barcodes and so the preference to use the 2D barcode, we know that our mobile phone, the devices, cannot read the 2D barcode. So how could this be, how could it be the tool for the patient to reach to their information, to the product information leaflets through the camera of their mobile phones?
So basically we propose to use an app which we download from the App Store, right? And with that we get the feature to read the data matrix and read everything via the blockchain. It could be connected to the blockchain because we believe that the additional value the patient gets is much higher in terms of data security, data privacy, maintaining a URL, all these kind of things which are not managed by the authorities. So it's also a relief for the authorities that don't have to take care about basically nothing, because the companies are responsible to publish the e-leaflets in a reliable manner, which they have to do anyway. And the additional value we're getting is much higher than installing another app, because we get used to so many apps nowadays, right? COVID app, certificates, bank apps, right? And all this, I compare this similar to a bank account app, right? We don't use QR codes for managing payments without any bank account app. So I think in that reason, it makes no difference, or let's say disadvantage to use an additional app for the phone, with keeping in mind what additional value this app will provide.
So the PharmaLedger app is now open for pilots.
Yeah.
So if in the region we want to do like some pilots through the PharmaLedger app, we can do it now with the regulatory authorities that did not implement the e-labeling yet.
Yep. We are right now in discussion with Belgium, because we want to, of course, propose and push this app, also this PharmaLedger industry consortium in the European Union, of course.
Okay.
And it's financed by the European Union, but it's not only tailored for the European Union. We are looking that it's worldwide usable. And we are in discussion with Canada, we are in discussion with Singapore. And also we are open for any other initiative. And we can start basically anytime to look at the potentials, how we can collaborate together. So we're very open anytime.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, and the panelists, Dr. Hala, Dr. Ahmed, Nawel, Michael. I will open it now for the audience in case anyone have any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I want to share with you an experience that occurred with the regulator. You know, it's related to food supplements. You know, the bottles of food supplements, many of them don't have a leaflet, and there is an English label. And by GCC regulations, we must have the Arabic label. So a shipment was stopped because although the agent was able to submit a translation of the content, he could not put a label because the bottle was so small, it will hide the English version. So he came up with a solution to produce a QR code sticker, a small sticker, where it can be on the bottle, patient can screen that, and you get the Arabic information. So it was an excellent solution. We didn't break the law, and it was a very good solution. I mean, he did it on his own. So I think that's an excellent idea, and it can be applied to all products.
Thank you, Dr. Mariam. So by this week, we understand as well that Bahrain could be open as well for some pilots for ePI by having some electronic information. And when we say pilot, it's like the hybrid version of the label. It's having the label, the paper copy, and the QR code as well.
We have to move. This is the future.
Thank you, Dr. Mariam.
Hello, this is Iman from JFDA. Actually, I have a compliment. As a regulatory, we are worried about this transition from the paper leaflet to an e-submission, because we are worried about if any overlap between the approved or the existed label and already assessed by the authorities, and how we can control if there will be any addition for an extra data, for example, regarding indication, dose regimen. And as we know, this need a lot of work to keep all the information patent. And the data security, it's a really concern. So I think, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, it's one of the challenges, and it can be with time handled. And as a JFDA, we are welcoming for the, as you say, the pilot experience to see and practical, it's applicable or not. Because when we move from the paper submission as a file to e-submission, we face a lot of challenges until we really practice the e-submission, and a lot of struggles we faced, and with time we can overcome them. So I like this presentation very much, and as Dr. Mayam said that it's the future, I think with the next generation, this will not be a big issue, because they already accepted the digitalization concept. So far, we have to improve our IT skills, and now it's common for us to deal with this concept rather than previous time.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Hala, would you like to comment?
Thank you for the comment. And I think, to your point, the ePI will solve the problem of maybe delays in the implementation of the approved product information. So while, let's say JFDA approves a version of the product information, and then it has to be packed in the products at the factory and then shipped to Jordan, when we have this, it will be immediately implemented on a landing page. So only the approved product information, but the healthcare professional and the patient will be able to get those updated information faster. So I don't think there will be any confusion. On the contrary, the accessibility of the updates will be quickly available. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Rasha from Green Pharma Stores. We are local agent and local distributor. Thank you for a very informative session. E-labeling is really a very smart thing that will happen. But my question is similar to Dr. Iman regarding if there is any change in the leaflet, and especially when the health authority will be involved in this. So how will we do the amendment? I mean, we have to update it in the system first, and then we have to do the minor change process, or how it will be implemented, I mean, how it will be going on.
Actually, if we implement a pilot phase and we try this, it will be added to the updated post-approval changes. Instead of paper submission, it will be, yes. So via this implementation, you can cover this issue, and anything is controlled via authority. You can feel free or safe. Don't worry, because it's already assessed by the authority, and you don't have to be worried about these things. Okay. But it takes time, as I mentioned, because everyone must update the regulation based on real cases, and if it's matching with our requirements or not. And this via real experience, we can accept it or not. So it's a matter of time only.
Thank you, Dr. Iman. We'll have the last question, and we'll have to conclude the session.
Okay, just a small comment and a question for both of us in the same comment. Actually, I want to echo what Dr. Mariam said about that this is the future. But for this future, we need to reimagine the whole guidelines for artwork implementation. Because if we will have the serialization code and the e-labeling code at the same pack with some instructions to scan the code. So why we still need to keep a lot of information as per some regulations about the supply chain, the manufacturer, the release site, all details about the supply chain, all the details about the compositions, because some guidelines in some markets still mandate a lot of details to be put in on the pack itself. If we are moving to a digital era, so we need to reimagine these guidelines and regulations. This is a perfect example that Dr. Mariam mentioned. If we need to apply the Arabic language, and it will be replaced by this e-labeling code, which will have multiple language. So we don't need to have the Arabic language on the label itself. So this is very important to reimagine our regulations and guidelines on labeling. And my colleague have a question to Takeda's team on the implementation.
Okay. Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Mariam regarding the magnificent idea regarding the 2D, the barcode that can we implement it in the small cartons, such as lozenges products or gum products, something like that. Because actually we have faced a lot of obstacles to implement both languages, let's say Arabic and English text. Regarding the Takeda story, let's say, they take the lead to shift from the paper to the digital. We would like to ask about the obstacles that they faced during the implementation from technical perspective. And another thing, how the Japan Health Authority consider this shifted. Should they consider it as a variation request, so the company should submit the variation request when they change any safety update information, or they should update the information that in the 2D barcode, and that's it. No need to submit variation request to the health authority.
Thank you for the question. So currently, we are at the implementation phase. Still, the grace period is ongoing. So it has been done now 20% from the product and from implementing and replacing this paper information to electronic. In terms of procedure, at the health authorities, it's not a variation. It's just, making sure that this data metrics code is linked to a GS1 code that will be directly linked to the website of the health authorities, where this updated and approved product information by the health authorities will have access to our to the healthcare professional in Japan. So it's not a notification. Now the companies, they are in process of making this this link, the GS1, to the e-leaflet from the web browser that directly to the PMDA. In terms of, we are aiming to complete before end of the grace period. And in terms of the maintenance, so if there is a safety, we're still, in the implementation phase. The Japan team, they are, in the conference or in the forum at the wider, at the GRA, no challenges or issues has been raised, but in terms of maintenance, and if there is a safety update, I think what Dr. Hala said, it will be just faster, because from the time that there will be a safety update, it will be submitted, as any, change into the leaflet. But then once approved, the implementation of this label to the patient, to the healthcare professional, will be faster. And it will reduce 6 to 8 weeks from a launch, and maybe from maintenance, to implement these data directly to the healthcare professional will not have to wait the 6 months to have access. Usually it's a grace period of 6 months for implementation. Thank you.
So one last comment maybe from Dr. Mariam, and we'll have to end because we're taking your break away.
Thank you very much. I had a question asked by one of the companies participating with us. Why can't we accept labels shared by other countries? Because our GCC requirements are different. So I think that's the idea of having it electronic. You would be sharing all the information, and you can just electronically put the ones for GCC, the ones just, cut and paste data, because it's electronic. Isn't that true? I want your opinion on that.
Yeah, this is again another advantage of using digital tools. So you can, you know, the scanning of the code can lead you to a landing page where you can access the approved product information for Bahrain, and then the same for Qatar, the same for UAE, at the time of approval. So this is the, you know, the beauty of using this digital tool to, you know, to accommodate for multiple approved versions and also multiple languages.
So it's an on-time approval or availability of the label that was approved by the regulatory authority on the website where you are going to host this label in. So by that, I would like to thank everyone, the panelists and the audience for their time.
Please, can I ask something, or it's a comment related to the same comment from Dr. Mariam. So I'm Nahil from Novo Nordisk. I just want to ask regarding that some countries are sharing the same pack. So if the safety update is approved in one country and not approved in another country, how can we implement this most recent leaflet in the QR code, and how can the other country accept this? So it's a shared pack, and you can scan the same e-label. And you, yeah.
So Nahil, now on the platform, you will have the QR code or the 2D barcode that is linked to one specific label that is per SKU approved in your country. So this QR code or 2D barcode will be linked to the label that is approved in the country that you are scanning from. So for example, you have a QR code, you will select the country, let's say it's UAE, you'll have the label approved in UAE. You select Bahrain, you'll have the label approved in Bahrain.
Yeah, okay, but this will confuse the patient. So the patient can choose another country and then he will have the most updated information or so. So how we can control this?
I think it would be maybe, and Michael can please support in this.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay. Can hear you.
I can. So let me comment on this. You will take the microphone. I think it's activated, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, super. So each pack has one cheat-in, right? This cheat-in is linked to one leaflet, right? Can be in various countries, right? Can be multilingual, whatever, right? But it's linked, one cheat-in, one leaflet, right? And this is not stored on any URL. It's stored in the blockchain, right, by the companies, published by the companies. So whenever you have in your hand, you have a data matrix on it, there's one key on it, which is essential and important. That is the cheat-in number, right?
Yes.
If that is correct, you get the right leaflet.
And this is why in our regions, because we have a shared pack, we can't have only the 2D barcode. Because the 2D barcode is linked to the GTIN, and which is the unique identifier of the SKU, whereas the label that is approved in 5 different countries as a shared pack will have to be unique to the country where it's approved. And this is why sometimes, and in our pilots, in multiple companies' pilots that are currently being done with the regulators, we have 2 different barcodes on the pack, the QR code that is linked to the approved leaflet in the country, and to the barcode that links the serialization information, and that in the future will be linked to the labels. So we would either need to solve the shared pack situation, maybe by having it through 2D barcodes, we'll have to split the SKUs, which is not also feasible from a commercial perspective, but there should be some discussions between the regulators and the industries on this.
Okay, so, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we have a break now, I guess, so please, thanks, Nawel.